Broken some exclusive polling ground here in Indiana today, showing Trump and Cruz close, Hillary and Bernie in practically a dead heat. What do you think about that?
I would say not surprised on the Democratic side. If you recall, the last time there was a competitive Democratic presidential primary, it was one of the closest between Obama and Clinton. I remember vividly waiting for Gary, Indiana to report all its votes in back in 2008 to see who was going to win. So it is a close, it doesn't surprise me. Every place that Clinton and Obama were close in 2008, Clinton and Sanders have been close. So I don't think that's a surprise. The Republican numbers surprised me a little bit. So much energy and effort from the Stop Trump folks. They keep saying, Indiana, that's going to be the line in the sand. That's where they're going to deny Trump. And here he is, before essentially the New York results sunk in, he's already starting with a 6-point lead. That's big, big trouble for Ted Cruz.
All right, so let's say we wake up on May 4th and Donald Trump has won Indiana and at least got a majority of the delegates here. What does that say about a contested Republican convention? It
probably means that it's the idea of it will start going up into smoke. It's going to be, if Donald Trump is able, because Indiana has been so symbolically important to the Stop Trump movement, Ted Cruz is making it sort of this, I'm going to do to Indiana what I did in Wisconsin. A loss to Trump, even by a point, having him get the plurality of delegates out of Indiana, it makes his path to the nomination that much easier. And frankly, I think at that point, maybe unstoppable.
All right, let's talk about John Kasich a little bit. He says he's the only one who pulls ahead of Hillary in a head-to-head competition. He seems to have gotten some momentum here from mainstream Republicans, but he really hasn't gained much ground. Is there any path for him, for John Kasich, any path for him to gain the nomination?
I think it would have started with him starting. It's got to start this coming Tuesday, to be honest. On paper, he should do well in places like Pennsylvania. It's actually the state he was born in, neighboring state of Ohio. He should do well in a place where a lot of moderate Republicans, like Maryland, like Connecticut. So I think he's got to. I think he is. He's going to regret not spending more time in those states, finding the resources to contest them more, because without actually winning somewhere, beating Trump somewhere outside of Ohio, I think he's going to have a hard time making this case. The polls do say what you point out. He's got the best shot at beating Hillary Clinton. But that's all. That's about the only talking point he has. He needs to go beat Trump among Republican voters somewhere outside the state of Ohio, and he hadn't found that place yet.
So let's talk a little about Hillary Clinton. It was in 2008 that she took the Indiana primary. Does Hillary need a win here in Indiana?
Actually, I don't think she needs any. She's actually in a position where she could probably lose the rest of the primaries narrowly and still get this nomination. The point is, that's the luxury she's in. She doesn't need to win any state left. Bernie Sanders arguably has to probably win every state on the calendar. So this isn't now. Is a win better for her? Does it sort of set Sanders back more? Does it keep the press from covering the Democratic race that much? Sure. So her need as far as winning is to sort of get people to stop covering the primary as if it's contested. But beyond that, the numbers are in her favor already.
The culture wars seem to really be alive and well, not only with the developments of the laws in North Carolina, but also RFRA here in Indiana, and we're also Mississippi as well. So how big of a role do you think that this is going to play in the national race as we look ahead?
I think it's going to play a large, what I would call targeted role. It's very similar to the way Barack Obama's campaign in 2012 used the Planned Parenthood issue. The Obama campaign never made Planned Parenthood a national issue, but in specific areas, places like Virginia, Northern Virginia, the suburbs of Denver, perhaps they'll do this in the suburbs of Philadelphia and places like that, where there are a lot of pro-choice Republican-leaning women. That's where they did a lot of Planned Parenthood advertising. I believe that will be how the Democrats try to use this. They think it's to their advantage to use with suburban voters who may be fiscally a little more conservative but socially a little more moderate. That's where I think you're going to see this issue be used in a very targeted way in advertising, sort of market by market.
A lot of people thought Ted Cruz might be able to pull off a similar showing in Indiana like he had in Wisconsin. We touched on this a little bit earlier, but do you think there's still time for Cruz to pull that off?
I think there is. On paper, there is time. Let's see how much money comes in. We know some money's already pouring in of the anti-Trump forces. But I think Trump can't, Cruz kind of needs to show a little bit of life this Tuesday to make Indiana voters who maybe want to stop Trump, but if it looks like they'll come to Cruz. But if it looks like Cruz, well, they're sitting there going, well, geez, okay, maybe we'll do a protest vote on your behalf in Indiana. But if it doesn't look like you can win anywhere else, and getting shellacked this Tuesday in all 5 states, as Cruz is likely to do, I think that's going to hurt him momentum-wise in Indiana and make it even that much harder for him to catch Trump.
And finally, you know, it is exciting for the voters here in Indiana to have their votes matter on a national scale. What would be your words of encouragement or the context for the value of Indiana at this point in the race for the White House?
Well, on the Republican side, it's huge. I mean, if Donald, it's an opportunity for Donald Trump to essentially declare victory, declare the nomination over. He could rhetorically do that, and I think the Stop Trump forces wouldn't be able to have much to come back with. Or it could become the linchpin of the Stop Trump movement. So Indiana has an opportunity to be very influential, either in securing this thing for Trump or in being the linchpin to stop. But we'll see if that actually happens. I do think what happens this coming Tuesday in the 5 states in the Northeast, how big are Trump's victories, will have an impact on Indiana.
All right, Chuck.